As many of you are probably not aware, there's actually a big event going down in the United States this Friday, what's being called the American Spring, where basically a bunch of Tea Party people and other various right-wingers, they're going to get together, and they have stated they're going to stop the U.S. government on that day. They're going to bring it down, put an end to it, because they've said that Obama and other various top Democrat officials have, quote, abandoned the Constitution. Well, I hate to break it to you, but the Constitution was actually abandoned a really, really long time ago. This is not something new. And of course, when they list the people that they want to sit down, they listed all Democrats, because the Republicans would never do anything that would violate the Constitution, right? Now, they claim that there's going to be 10 to 30 million people that are going to show up to support them in various cities around the country. And I think that's pretty much a pretty huge exaggeration, and I frankly don't see that happening at all. One of the main demands they actually have is an end to various taxes. Now, on their website, they listed a whole bunch of the taxes they actually want to get rid of, which is almost all of them, and they want to curb government spending and government theft through taxation. And they state that once we get rid of these taxes, instantly all middle-class families will see their household income double. I mean, I hate to break it to you, but that's not how economics works. You don't just get rid of taxes and then all of a sudden your income doubles. There's a lot of things I could go into here, like your taxes pay for that infrastructure that you use every day. One of the things, post-World War II, a lot of the things that were involved in the development of the country, like, interstate highway systems, railroads, all those things that actually linked all the ends of the country together that allowed for such a great growth of capitalism. But I mean, that's really obvious, and I don't really need to repeat that here. An interesting moment was when a spokesman of the group, Terry Trussell, said that he expects Obama to use drone strikes on them for protesting, and that he wants everybody to be prepared for an emergency situation in case the government makes a move on them during the protest. And he's even gone so far as to compare the people that are going to show up on that day to the people who fought the American Revolution. I mean, I'm no U.S. historian, but I'm pretty sure a bunch of overprivileged white middle-class people are not the same thing as the revolution against the British Crown. Now, let's face the facts here. Absolutely nothing is going to happen. What is going to happen is a bunch of white middle-class and upper-middle-class people that are angry are going to show up with "Don't tread on me" flags, spitting the usual right-wing vitriolic rhetoric, and making all kinds of demands, most likely waving a lot of guns in the air, and nothing's going to happen. Police aren't going to make any provocative actions whatsoever. I mean, literally, when we have a protest like this with, privileged white middle-class people with guns, the police don't come in and shut anything down. But when you have leftists, like, say, something like Occupy Wall Street, well, then the police come in force and pretty much beat the living hell out of people. I mean, this is a bunch of white protesters, white middle-class protesters. Nothing's going to happen unless somebody actually goes and does something really stupid. Now, many conspiracy-type people are expecting this to be a huge false flag operation. Some are saying that this isn't even actually a protest. What they're going to do is get a bunch of actors together to provoke the U.S. government into violence, and then this is going to turn around and be used as a justification for more draconian fascist measures to control the population. I actually sincerely doubt that, because a lot of these situations where things are either false flags or appear to be false flags are never done on a huge scale like this. They're always done with smaller, isolated instances, because if you're going to fake something, you're not going to use a ton of actors. You're going to use like one or two few isolated incidences, MK Ultra, a bunch of stuff like that. It doesn't happen in huge, big numbers like this. So that's just not going to happen. It's always very interesting to see situations like this, with the outrage against everything that's happened to the American people since the global collapse of capitalism in 2008. People are genuinely angry at real things, but they don't know where to focus that anger to. Like, they don't realize the internal contradictions of the system itself that they live in. Like, they don't see that. They only see very small, superficial things and attack those. Immigration, must be leftist, feminist, stuff like that. They don't understand the internal workings of the system itself that they're in. So they don't see how these problems arise from the very structure of the system itself. To them, it must be always some kind of outside force. It's these politicians are violating the Constitution, and they're nothing like the people we had originally. These bad people got in the Constitution. These foreign terrorists got into our country. In other words, that threat is always something external to the system itself, which ignores the possibility of structural problems in itself, like internal contradictions that lead a country towards fascism. They don't see that. They only see it as some kind of external factor. I also do notice something very, very annoying about all this. There's all this tremendous outrage since 2008 for the destruction, the huge damage that's been done to the middle class. And that has happened. There has been a tremendous loss of privilege and a loss of wealth and a loss of status for middle class people in the first world, particularly the United States. And these people have lost a lot. But the decline of working people, the decline of the working poor in the Western world, have been declining for decades. Minimum wages remain stagnant. The living conditions and the purchasing power of even people below middle class have frankly been being destroyed since the 1970s, even far into the 1960s. But they're never mad about that. That's okay, because that's the lower classes, the people who just don't want to work apparently, or aren't smart enough to get those union jobs that these middle class people got their money off of. It's okay when they suffer, but if you dare do it to the great holy middle class, the real economic engine of the country, well, then you're going too far. Create massive disadvantage for African Americans, yeah, they don't care. But if you do it to the white middle class people, the real Americans, then you're going too far. In fact, we can telescope this whole class thing out even further. Look at the particular wording. They say they're only the middle class this, the middle class that. That shows definitely their prejudiced views towards those in lower classes to them. And even look at the wording here. They're afraid that Obama is going to use drone strikes on them. They're actually comparing their belief that Obama, their protests, to those of the Arab Spring, to people in Iraq and Afghanistan, Pakistan, Yemen, and every other country that gets U.S. drone strikes. They're really, even if not fully conscious, comparing themselves to them. It's necessary for the U.S. government to kill them as much as it is to kill those people. They're literally comparing themselves to those of the truly poor and wretched and oppressed in the world. These people, even in the first world, even by first world standards, are standing on a pile of privilege being middle class. And they promote themselves as being the victim. Almost comparable to those in the third world who suffer from, who actually suffer from drone strikes. They sit on the throne of imperialism and collect all the benefits from it. Value extraction from the third world, cheaper resources, cheaper commodities, insanely better working conditions than those who produce the products that they consume. And they really feel like they are the victims here. This is the kind of sense of entitlement and the lack of the disconnection from the class reality of the world we live in that they suffer from. That they truly feel that they are the victims of the U.S. government. Not the millions who've died in, unjust wars. Not the 22,000 children who die every day from poverty caused by a global capitalist system. They feel that they, the people who sit on the throne of riches of the first world, extracted through imperialism, are the real victims. And that's frankly disgusting. Thank you for watching. Please comment and rate the video. If you liked it, hit subscribe or check out some of these other great videos. If you wish, share it on social media. While you're at it, why don't you follow me on Twitter? And if you got time, go on over to the MRN bookstore and check out some of the latest books available.